Imagine a scenario where after several months of searching, the police finally find a killer that was on the loose. All the evidence points to this person being the killer. There's even video footage of him committing the crime. And yet still, during the actual trial, he gets off on a technicality, with the technicality being that the judge used the wrong pronouns when referring to him. If you think that's ridiculous, well, welcome to the judicial world over in the state of Michigan, where just last Wednesday, the state Supreme Court voted in favor of enacting a new rule, which will force all the judges and the court personnel throughout the whole state to refer to plaintiffs, defendants, and lawyers by their preferred pronouns. Or, if they don't wish to refer to those people by their preferred pronouns, they now have to use some verbal gymnastics. Here's specifically what the newly adopted amendment reads in relevant part. Quote, "Courts must use the individual's name, the designated salutation, or personal pronouns, or other respectful means that is not inconsistent with the individual's designated salutation or personal pronouns when addressing, referring to, or identifying the party or attorney, whether orally or in writing." This means, in practical terms, that if I'm standing in a Michigan courtroom and I tell the court that my pronouns are smash like button, then when referring to me, the judge will have to tell the whole court to smash the like button. Now, I'm of course just joking about that, but I do hope that you take a quick moment to smash those like and subscribe buttons so that this content can reach ever more people via the YouTube algorithm. Now, what this actually means in practical terms is that let's say you have Derek, the murder suspect, thinking of himself as a woman. Well, the judge in the case over in Michigan will now have to play along and refer to Derek as a she, although the judge will have a few other options. Quote, "The rule, which goes into effect on January 1st of 2024, also will allow judges to avoid pronouns and refer to someone by their role in the case, such as attorney or plaintiff, followed by a last name." Furthermore, because it's not always obvious what a person's gender identity is just by looking at them, court documents throughout the entirety of the state will now have to be changed in order to conform to this new rule. Quote, "Because an individual's gender identity may not be readily discernible visually, the parties and attorneys may now be given the option of including their personal pronoun preferences in the captions of the initial court documents that come before a judge. The idea is to avoid the awkwardness of a judge having to ask a litigant or attorney about their gender identity in trying to determine how to address the individual." And just for your reference, these new rules, which are set by the state Supreme Court, govern the practices of all the lower courts throughout the state of Michigan. And so whether it's criminal court, family court, small claims court, as long as it's in Michigan, starting on January 1st of next year, they will all have to moderate their speech to conform to this new rule. Now, if you're wondering how this policy change even came about, well, the whole thing began in December of 2021. Back then, there was a case in front of the Court of Appeals called People versus Gabrick. And the judge in that particular case, he issued an opinion statement explaining why he would not refer to the criminal defendant by his preferred pronouns, which were, in that case, they, them. However, this judge's opinion, it set off a chain reaction, because what happened was that the Michigan branch of the ACLU, in conjunction with several other pro-gay organizations, they sent a letter to the state Supreme Court asking them to change the very way that the judicial system in the state interacts with transgender people. This letter from the ACLU, it then triggered a several month-long process, which included the Supreme Court taking written comments from Michigan citizens, holding a public hearing, and then deliberating on the issue among the justices. And then after this long process was over, on September 27th, which was last Wednesday, the state Supreme Court voted 4-3 in favor of making the change and requiring the use of preferred pronouns throughout the entirety of the state. And just for your reference, the 4 state Supreme Court justices who voted in favor of this change were Richard Bernstein, Kyra Bolden, Megan Kavanaugh, and Elizabeth Welch, all of whom were Democrat nominees. And in terms of why they decided to make this change, well, you had Justice Kyra Bolden write an opinion statement explaining her rationale for voting in favor of this preferred pronoun change. Quote, "I believe it is perfectly within the realm of this court's authority to require judges who choose to use identifying pronouns to use those requested by the parties. While Michigan is the first state to amend its court rules to expressly include such comprehensive protection for personal pronouns, history is made by being first."